Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Columbus This Week with Trevor and Eric. Sorry you missed us last week. We were taking a much-deserved vacation because basically we come in and we just work so hard every Sunday to get this podcast out, and sometimes our schedules don't line up sometimes, so... And we also need a break because I can't stand Trevor, so...
That's a fair point. I mean, also, think about having to deal with Eric for, like, a 3-hour period of time.
Yeah, think about how great that would be.
Jesus.
Okay, so we got some good stuff for you guys today. There's I think this podcast is a little nationally slanted, just because there really hasn't been a whole lot of interesting stuff going on in the past 2 weeks really here in Columbus. So look forward to that. Like we're gonna talk about the election, I guess, too, and Trevor has a controversial opinion about Save the Crew. And there's some good stuff going on nationally that I think's worth we both think's worth talking about. So we're gonna, I guess, do that. So I'll go ahead and jump into events. We got two events. So Trevor, you're probably gonna chastise me for this one, but November 14th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. for $40. I have no idea if this is a good value or not, but so apparently we have a salt cave in Columbus.
Is that where like mad people go to get it all out?
It's like a tranquility meditation, guided meditation with live music, salt cave.
But like there's actual salt there.
It's like salt on the ground,
salt
like in the walls,
salt in the people,
salt in the people.
So let me get this straight. People go there to like get rid of their salt.
Yeah, you
got like salty people. They just like dump it out.
Yeah, the salt cave actually looks pretty badass. To be quite honest with you, but I just didn't know we had one of those in Columbus, so I'm glad we do. But I don't know. Seems like a cool thing to go to. I probably won't go, but
there's a lot of caves
just because I'm poor.
There's a lot of caves that don't cost $40 to go to. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You can go to like Old Man's Cave and get murdered down there or something. So yeah. So that's coming up, I guess. And then I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought it was like crazy because there's a salt cave here. So that's how you know you've like reached full gentrification, is when you have like a salt cave.
Yeah, we're basically Portland now.
Yeah,
except we have too many non-white people apparently.
Yeah, because there's so many white people in
Portland,
as we were talking about.
Yeah. So before the show, I found a statistic that says that Portland is the second whitest city in the country.
Yeah,
which I'm sure shocks everyone.
Yeah,
I think Lexington is more white somehow.
Well, it's Kentucky, so. All right, so besides that, there's another event. This is an actual good event. So we talk about tech all the time. We're both software nerds. So Tech Talent South is having an event on the 16th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Idea Foundry. So what they do is they basically bring people together, and so some people are beginners, some people like experts and all this kind of stuff, and it's like kind of like a little hackathon thing, if you will. Not like an actual hackathon, but like a hack night, I guess.
Like a build-a-thon? Yeah.
So you bring your computer or even like a Raspberry Pi or whatever you want to, and then they have like coffee, water, and also apparently some free alcohol drink. So that's almost enough for me to show up. And then you can also like BYOB. But I think we've talked about this event before, but I still think it's cool, so I'm probably going to mention it every time I like think about it. Not that I have no association with them whatsoever, although I might actually go check this out. And it's at the Idea Foundry, which if you haven't been, you should just go to the Idea Foundry because it's super awesome. So, and then finally, this is another good event. So one of our council members, Stinziano, I have no idea what his first name is. He's holding like office hours for members of the community to come talk to him about issues they're facing. If you have an hour to spare, he's the next one coming up is Friday, November 17th. So that's from like 12 to 1:30 p.m. at Panera in Clintonville on North High Street. I actually think that's like a good thing to go to. Just because, if you want to have a good community, you got to be engaged with the people you elect. And even if you didn't vote for them, you should still be engaged and like say, hey, like these are the issues I face. This is what I think about this, and try to have those interactions. So
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever drop the time to go to a council member's.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I can't do it during lunchtime, but in the I don't know in the evening time or maybe on like a Saturday sometime. I think it'd be fun to go to.
Also, it seems like these kind of events appeal to people who are like either retired or not in school or working.
Yeah,
which is everything really.
Yeah. So yeah, so both of those I think are kind of cool. And then so this is kind of like a mini construction roundup. So we I guess every week we talk about construction, some things are going on. These are more like kind of bigger things versus just the run of the mill construction. So the Columbus College of Art and Design, they're building a new state of the art animation center, which I think is pretty cool. It's going to be like an actual expensive like over $1 million facility inside the design studio. So Columbus, actually, I guess the art school here is actually a pretty good school, and so I like to see that they're expanding that out. So
yeah, they have really nice buildings.
Yeah, I do like their buildings. So that's coming up, or that's getting built, I should say. And then so this is we've I think I don't know if I've talked about this before, but so Parsons Avenue. So when I was growing up, like, you didn't go on the other side of Parsons Avenue. There's, like, the German Village side, and then there's, like, the other side, which is where my family lived. So, like, you just didn't go on that side. And, like, even when we'd go visit family, like, over there, like, you didn't, like, you played in, like, the fenced-in backyard, but, like, you didn't go, like, you didn't walk down the streets. Like, you didn't go to the park, like, none of that stuff, because it was pretty sketchy over there.
Well, that reputation has kind of changed in the last 10 years, hasn't
it? Yeah, exactly. So, with that, I guess there's... So I talked about it before that they're building like a new like the Village Point. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. So they're putting it's gonna be like 425 new residential or 163 new apartment units or blah 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 whatever. But the link we'll have, they're actually putting in like 60,000 square feet of new commercial space. In some areas over 400,000 square feet of new office, medical, community space up by. So Nationwide Children's like really anchoring. So on the north side of Parsons, like Nationwide Children's there, and they're building a boatload of crap. It's like they're building like $700 million worth of like hospital expansion. And then down the street, they're just like piling in new stuff. So that's going to be kind of interesting because unlike, I don't know, I mean, that area on to the east of Parsons Avenue is still not like a great area yet. So building all this stuff, it's going to be kind of a clash of civilizations, if you will. So, but overall, I think that's pretty good. I didn't know a better way to say it, but I mean, it is true. Like, I mean, if you drive down Parsons Avenue, it's still not.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of run down.
So, but yeah.
But people aren't getting, I mean, there's not crime happening there daily anymore. Definitely weekly, but not daily.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not as bad as it used to be. But yeah.
But then nowhere in Columbus really is.
True. So that's going on, and then. So that to me, I'm like kind of excited about because they've already kind of run out of room. Like Short North's basically done. Like the only thing they can do is expand more northward into Clintonville, but like the south side still has a whole bunch of potential. I think because like it's anchored by German Village, and you have Nationwide Children's, and there's some other.
Eventually, High Street north to south is just going to be nothing but like development.
Yeah. I went for a run this morning, and I ran from the south side like up to OSU campus, and like as I got up to my turnaround point was like at OSU, and right when I got up there, I like look in the distance and there's like crane and then crane and then crane. It's just like the whole street. Like I don't know when the last time you were up there, it was just like crane after crane. It's just like all this stuff going on. So yeah, so that's good because I mean that means new residents, new building, new economy, good stuff. And then apparently there's long-term planning going on for a $2 billion terminal for the John Glenn Airport. So
cool.
Yeah, so that's good because so there was a good City Lab article. I don't know if I told you about that, but
nope.
They basically, so if you have a direct flight from like one city to another, it increases like the economic activity for both of those cities like pretty substantially, which makes sense, right, yeah. right. But they actually like quantified it. I might see if I can find that article from them because they looked at like Seattle to somewhere, and then I don't know, there's a couple other cities, but it's pretty interesting. So if we get more flights, then that means more people doing more business and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, most capital in the U.S. is human capital, right?
Yeah.
The most valuable thing the U.S. has in particular isn't manufacturing or anything. It's the information that people can sort of work with and build upon.
Right,
and
right.
That's been the case at least since the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not that surprising.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's good. And plus Columbus, I mean, I've been to a bunch of airports, and Port Columbus is easily one of the best because like you get free Wi-Fi.
It depends. So the actual facilities are great. The options on flights are terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I meant the actual airport, like itself,
gotcha,
not
the physical. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is good because maybe we'll get more flights, but they do have some good like, hey, I want to go to Fort Lauderdale, like those kind of flights. I guess there's a bunch of those, but yeah, so the actual airport itself is really nice. Like you go in, there's free Wi-Fi. It's like not very trafficy. Obviously, I'd like to see some sort of. They have like the little bus that the Air Connect that runs from downtown to the airport and back, and like I guess it goes airport, Hilton downtown, and like I think OSU or something, or maybe just to the Hilton downtown. But I would like to see actually like a more dedicated line, because if you try to go there like during rush hour or something, it is just a nightmare.
Yep. Yeah. This is cool. $2 billion to spend is not bad for Columbus.
Yeah.
All right. So I would like to introduce a new segment, actually, Eric.
Okay.
I'm going to call
as though I don't know that this is coming up.
Yeah. I'm going to call it the 2 minutes hate, because if nothing else, these tend to be topics that make you angry and hate filled. So
yeah. So should I have a rebuttal here, or should I just be really mad going into like the future?
So feel free to comment if you'd like, but
or like scream.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, these are all generally like short, crazy news topics that are the kind of things that make you in particular go, why?
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Well, I think it has a like Americans collectively go, why?
All right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's bring on the 2 minutes hate. First up, Trump's Twitter was deleted for about 10 minutes by an employee on their last day.
Contractor, so, as they claim. Anyway, I don't want to cut in your 2 minutes.
Yeah. So the guy basically on his last day of work deleted Trump's Twitter, which apparently you can just like you have the access to just suspend people's accounts.
Yeah.
Without deleting the information, which is really interesting. That's a little insight into Twitter's back end.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next up, Trump was feeding koi fish with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
Yeah.
And the news tore him apart for this one particular instance where he just like dumped the remainder of the box into
I think
the
he was
water.
Just bored. He's just like, I'm done with this shit.
Well, the thing is, before that, Prime Minister Abe had done the exact same thing.
But naturally, like they got to just get on Trump for it.
Well, the thing is, there's a still picture. It's the same one that everyone's using of just like the food falling from Trump's box. But people lost their minds over this.
People need more stuff to do.
Trump's just like feeding fish, and people are going insane.
Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Okay. I can feel the rage burning inside me.
This was slightly over a week ago, but Donna Brazile has written an op-ed, which is a part of her book. She wrote it in Politico, about how the Clinton campaign, and more specifically the Hillary Victory Fund, was basically funding the DNC because the DNC was millions of dollars in debt. Which was a decision made during Barack Obama's administration, because they kept on a lot of people normally they would fire after the elections.
Yeah.
Okay. So the DNC is millions of dollars in debt. It's kept alive basically by Hillary dollars, and
I like those. It's like Obama bucks, Hillary dollars,
and I think there's like at least 3, maybe 4 Bernie supporters that aren't quite happy about this.
Yeah, as they should be, because it's like a big, oh, I told you so, and then it just keeps coming out. So,
yeah, interesting story. Next up, Lovense, the sex toy company, has released to the press that they have engaged in spying and surveillance on their customers for data about how their products are used. Ugh. How does that make you feel, Eric?
Well,
you buy your little sex toy with all this little technology in it, and then the data's getting sent back home.
So I'll tell you this: I would assume that was happening, at least. Like, I'm not naive, but
yeah. So that's interesting. So I really want to. I kind of want to see like those data categories, because they've got a database somewhere, right? And I want to see what those columns are named.
Like, yeah. Well, we got to keep this kind of PG, but yeah,
maybe. And then last in the news, there has been I don't know if you've heard, but there's been a sex scandal or two in the last couple of weeks.
No, didn't hear anything about any of that. I'm surprised to see all these people.
I mean, it's a bunch of no names, really, though. Have you ever heard of Louis C.K.?
Is that his last name? C.K.? That's a weird one. No, never heard of that guy. What does he do? Is he like a politician?
He's I think he his official title is like serial masturbator.
Oh, okay.
And then we've got George Takei.
Okay.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson and Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, well, Spacey.
Never heard of any of these people.
Yeah. Okay.
This is crazy.
So,
it just keeps happening. It's like there's a new one every day.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I mean, he runs like a competitor podcast, so we should just like slander him all day. But the Kevin Spacey one, that's so convenient for Netflix because House of Cards was going downhill like crazy. Like they ran out of stuff to do after the second season, and it's like, well, then they canceled the whole show because of this. And I was like, well, that's perfect for them. But
so I will say, keep in mind that none of these allegations have been shown to be true.
Except Louis C.K.
Except Louis C.K.
He
admitted to it. But it is interesting and crazy that this is just all happening at once. It's like day after day after day. Like I bet if I check.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's like it's like any spontaneous like social movement like Arab Spring or Black Lives Matter. I'm not equating those things, but I mean, they are still like a social phenomenon. So I don't feel this isn't even close. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're just gonna keep having hearing more and more about it. But they elected Trump, even though he it was attempted to have these same kind of sex scandals like placed upon him with like the grab him by the what comments and stuff like that. So
one thing
maybe Americans don't even care, which is sad.
Well, one thing I think was interesting there is that there were a lot of accusations like the week before the election towards Donald Trump, and then they were immediately dropped like right after the election ended.
Right. So some of these, I mean, I'm not. So my position on these is, it sounds pretty bad. I hope that none of these actually happen, but I also, until it's actually proven without a doubt, I don't have any opinion on, like I'm not outraged about it. If it's true, then I'm outraged, but at the same time, if somebody accuses somebody of something, the way the way the world works in the United States is, you have to it has to be proven, right?
Yeah,
like,
the burden of evidence is always upon the accuser.
Right. So Weinstein's done for, because he sounds like a really bad person. Louis C.K. his was just kind of really gross. We won't get into what he was doing. I mean, it was manipulative, bad, gross. I don't think. I heard where was it? I think I was flipping through channels or something for some reason, and CNN had was talking about it, or maybe I don't know what it was, but basically because he came out and admitted to it, and they basically said they have 100% confidence that there's no criminal charges going to be filed against him, because otherwise he wouldn't have said anything.
Right.
So, because obviously he had any statement vetted by a lawyer, because he has enough money to afford actual lawyers. But
yeah, must be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say I don't buy into the listen and believe thing as far as the courts are concerned, right?
Yeah.
Like people have the right to sort of defend themselves.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy that there are so many.
Yeah. Oh, I think I think it's good if as long as these allegations are true, that women feel empowered to actually come out and say, hey, this scumbag said did this, or had their, and it's particularly noticeable in Hollywood, obviously, but they abused their position of power. And
that reminds me, you know who I missed? Mariah Carey.
Did she I didn't hear about her.
So she invited some guy who worked for, I don't know if it was a TMZ employee or they reported.
Yeah.
But she got this was a guy who was in charge of moving equipment, and she was just basically naked and see-through lingerie, and she the guy wanted to leave, and she told him he had to do his job first, and she's just sitting there basically naked while he is.
Jeez. Yeah. Do keep in mind that women aren't immune from doing these things too. So I think men probably do this more often, just based on anecdotal history.
Yeah, especially because most of these stories are power focused, and I feel like that's definitely
it's a power thing. Yeah,
that's definitely
and not in all cases, but it looks like in these cases, each one of these people are very successful in their careers.
At the very least, there's a power element to it. And I think
Louis C.K. even said that. He's like, I abused my power of like these women thinking I was awesome and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then I wanted to add one to your 2 minutes of rage, which has probably been like 5 minutes now. There's a comment on Reddit I saw in the Columbus subreddit, which we peruse on occasion. Somebody was like, "It's not National Nacho Day. Are there any Columbus like places to get like nachos to celebrate? For the love of God, stop with this stupid nonsense." So, the way these national days work: National Donut Day, National Waffle Day, National Coffee Day, National Hot Dog Day, National whatever day. There's like an organization that like publishes the national days, and people just sit down and make them up. That's all it is. It's completely made up. It's not a national day. It's just a marketing ploy to get you to buy shit you don't need. So don't celebrate any national days unless they're actual days, or unless you're like really, really into like whatever that thing is.
What makes something a real national day?
Not being, so it has to be like Veterans Day. Like that's a real day. Like that's a national like real day.
What about like Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
So those are kind of borderline, but I will say this is they get you to donate money to a good cause. I can handle that. Like I'm not like against that, and like they don't have a monopoly on the month. Because like other people could be like, oh, what's national whatever month. It just kind of it's like a popularity contest to see.
Well, yeah, so.
Like, because they have, like, Men's Health Month and, like, all this stuff, too.
Yeah, so are those legitimate?
Yeah. Like, those are fine because they're raising awareness and it's for a good cause. But this is just trying to get you to buy stuff that you, like, otherwise wouldn't buy and, like, trying to give you an excuse to go buy those things. That's the only reason. I think drug dealers should come up with, like, National Crack Cocaine Day. I mean, why not? Like, this is literally, it's the same logic. It's just a worse product.
So you think if it's, like... So basically, you're saying,
and on top of that, some of these aren't even they're not even annual. They're like National Donut Day. I'm pretty sure that happens more than once per year.
Interesting. So I mean, I guess I agree with that, right? At the very least, awareness raising is less nonsense than like some corporate attempt to sell you something,
right? Like I mean, if I mean, you got to start somewhere. Like, let's say you didn't like those awareness days. Like, you could not like them, but you should still start with like, what's the actual worst thing that's happening? At least those are like for good causes. Like, November I think is national. It's kind of like men's health awareness because like the No Shave November or like whatever. So that's fine because it's like for a good purpose and all this stuff. But like National Nacho Day, like it's not a thing, man. Just eat nachos whatever day you want. There's no national day for that. So I just wanted to rant about that before we get into the Columbus news. So
yeah, it's fine. The only thing I would say is that I mean I feel like all the national stuff is kind of nonsense. Like it's a little bit like Breast Cancer Awareness Month is, I don't know if you know this, but it's the exact same month as like Little Person Awareness Month.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so
and they're it's okay. They're getting. I was going to say something, but then it sounds really offensive, but now I've got to say it. So they're getting dwarfed by Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
That was very funny of you.
Well, I was like, should I do it? Now I have to commit because I've stumbled.
Yeah, it was a good pun.
It wasn't intentional though, but like I mean, they seriously are getting crushed. Nobody cares about Little Person Awareness Month because it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So like, is legitimacy just based on popularity?
Basically. And I'm not saying that's fair, and I'm not saying I agree with it. But I think let's start with the stuff we can all agree on is dumb, which is National Nacho Day and any of these national days. So like I mean like National Donut Day, like Krispy Kreme, they're like it's like, hey, buy 2 donuts, get the third free or something like that. But it's just to get you to spend money, and like
it's a corporate thing.
Yeah. So and plus they're all just made up. Like there's no
everything.
There's
is
no
made
governing,
up,
but there's no like so like Memorial Day, like the government decided that. There's no like. There's no like tribunal that decides, well, do we need a National Nacho Day? Like, no, it's just like some stupid company somewhere.
Oh, speaking of, since you want to mention that, I have one more topic. Sorry about this, but Donald Trump announced a National Victims of Communism Day. To be passed as a national holiday. So how do you feel about that?
I'm all on board with that one because that one's hilarious. So.
All right. Well,
I think all those people in Portland would probably be mad about it, but
because they're communists.
Yeah, bunch of communists. So, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But there were a lot of people, just their lives were destroyed under communism, which is sad. But
all right. So should we move on to news in the best city in the world?
Let's do it. So you have some stuff to say about the hashtag Save the Crew?
Sure thing. All right. So moving on to Columbus news.
From one rant to another.
Yeah. So there's a new movement in our beautiful city.
New as in like a month ago.
Well, new as in as of like 2 weeks ago, there have been people are putting up signs everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it takes a while to get the signs made. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So if you live in Columbus, which I imagine you do if you're listening to this, you might have noticed.
If you don't, you should move here.
I agree. You might have noticed a few signs around the city that say hashtag Save the Crew.
Yeah.
And so hashtag Save the Crew is a movement by the Columbus citizenry to try and purchase the Columbus Crew from Precourt and put it in the hands of local business owners who are sort of attached to the city.
Yeah, or get them to just stay here, I think, too. Or is it just...
No.
It's just buy it?
There are specific demands, and one of them is that the team cannot remain in Precourt's hands. Which, to be fair, I don't think it's politically viable for Precourt to own the team in Columbus anymore. That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Like, he's already burned all his
Yep.
goodwill.
Death to Precourt as far as Crew fans are concerned.
As far as a lot of people are concerned.
Yeah.
Man, if he was like
I mean, we can get into this, but I've been following pretty closely. He really, so I guess not to hijack your rant, but so apparently in like San Antonio and like there's a couple other cities, they were basically like putting up the money to do an expansion team, and then so Precourt just all of a sudden is like, oh hey, like before you guys like actually make a team, like I'm just gonna move my team down here and like screw you guys. So the MLS was not happy about that, even though they're saying that like they're happy, like they're fine with it and all this stuff. They are not, and the other owners are mad too, and then the other fans are mad too because so Columbus right now they're in the Eastern like Conference Finals, and then if they beat Toronto, because I just like looked this up, if they beat Toronto, so they have like 2 games. If they win, they'll be in like the finals. And I was thinking like how hilarious it would be if like the Crew actually won, because how are you going to move a championship team? Like it would just be so like it'd be like if the Browns, it'd be like if the Cavs had like like they won a couple years ago and then they like moved to I don't know like just somewhere else. People it'd just be like an uproar. It'd be insane.
Somebody's gonna get killed.
Yeah, but so with this, it's not like you're the owner and like you just get to do whatever you want. Like that actually has to be approved by the Major League Soccer, and you're like an owner operator. You're not like it's not like just your team to do whatever you want.
Which is also Precourt's position. He's an owner operator.
Yeah. So
it's worth noting.
Yeah. So though I think they all are because
in MLS, yes.
Yeah. So that means it's not like your team to do whatever you want with. Like you actually have to follow their rules and all this kind of stuff. So
yep. So
back to your rant.
Yeah, I wanted to give my thoughts on Save the Crew. I think it's kind of dumb.
And then do you hear that bomb going off? That is all the Crew fans just exploding right now with anger.
Yeah, I think I think our little studio, which is a room in my house, is going to get rushed.
Yeah,
and we're going to be torn to pieces. But so I don't think trying to take the team away from Precourt is a good idea. I think he's already blown his political capital, and
yeah,
he doesn't have any onus to actually sell the team. And if he does sell the team, it's going to be for a lot more than he paid.
Right, which means he wins, and that's not good.
There's no way Save the Crew pans out without Precourt winning
one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think no matter what happens, if the sort of Save the Crew motivations are like captured, it's going to hurt the Columbus taxpayer in some way.
Yeah,
because part of the I guess demands is they're right now Save the Crew movement is trying to put together a law which would make it so that any Ohio team, and this is not going to get passed, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
But it would be hilarious if it would.
There's no chance this is getting passed.
Yeah.
But they're trying to like draft a law that would make it so that any team that leaves Ohio would have to like pay out like half the value of the team.
I wish that would get passed. That'd be great.
Half the value of the team.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You think the Cavs would ever pay? Like it just. Here's the thing: nobody would ever set up another team in Ohio.
Well, we don't need it anymore.
Debatable.
What do we need?
We need a football team in Columbus.
No, that'll never happen. Ohio State's too big. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying that you can't put another actually like an NFL team here. There's no way, because it just gets like Ohio State football is just like that's all that matters here.
Also, what happens with like small sports teams? This is a bill that really hasn't been well thought out. I think there's a lot of good intent behind the Save the Crew movement, which I think has some. There's a lot of bad ideas and sort of good intents. Is what's happening.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So
yeah, but I honestly think the best case scenario is basically pre-court keeping the crew and then not being able to move them to Austin, because right now the optics are so terrible.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people in Austin, including a few Austin newspapers, want nothing to do with the crew just because of how bad this looks nationally.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the soccer community is concerned, like, even people in Austin who want a team are like, Precourt's like...
Well, they don't want to take another city's team. They want their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I largely agree with you. And I think I said this from the start, that Columbus should just say, okay, well, see you later, and like just be done with them. But for me, like, I think if you're going to have a sports team, I think this goes for anywhere. The actual model should be publicly owned, because a sports team is more than just a business. It provides a ton of value to a community. There are always like these partners. Like you look around like Ohio State, like look at all the public-private. I mean, because it's a public university, of course, but look at all like the partnerships that go into that, and it's like part of the community. So I think in the future, for this city in particular, but just in general, I think if you want to like have a sports team, it should be publicly owned, especially because there's all these things that go into. So if they're building a new stadium, there's like all these tax incentives or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, inherently, these are all public ventures, and then the profits tend to go towards a private entity. And I would rather see cheaper tickets for the citizens of Columbus, and I'd rather see, maybe it doesn't have to be managed by the city, but I think the city should own it. And I think that's what the Green Bay Packers have done. Like, and so if they want to do an upgrade to the facility, it like goes to the taxpayers, and taxpayers vote on it. I think that's the best way to do it.
Right, but I think they're an exception.
Well, yeah, but I think they should be the rule, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to say that, but the first part of the problem is you have to have an incorporated city that's willing to pay for that. Like, the majority of the people, and I think that's hard.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy. So,
all right, let's move on. You wanted to talk about election results?
Yeah,
right?
just briefly. So, issue 2, which was the drug act that we've talked about quite a few times, or at least the last 2 episodes, I think we talked about. So that overwhelmingly like failed, which was no surprise to me, because the ads on the like against side were like phenomenal compared to the compared to the 4 ads. And well, that makes sense when the drug companies are spending like $60 million or something like that funding all these ads, and good or bad for them.
Hey Eric,
what?
Do you hate veterans? Why do you hate veterans? Why do you want to raise veterans' drug prices?
Yeah, it was such a stupid argument. Yeah, and like even if drug prices did go up for private insurance, it's like, I mean, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I
do think it's a valid argument that like if you match prices with the VA, everyone's prices, especially the VA, the VA's prices are going to go up.
Well, see, that's the one thing though, is like it's very politically unviable for drug companies to be like, well, we're going to charge the VA more money for drugs for our veterans. It's like toxic politically.
Well, I mean, it might be toxic politically, but they can also use, and they did use the argument in their favor by saying, I mean, are you willing to raise the prices of drugs on veterans, right?
Right.
Because
which was a bad argument, because the drug companies aren't going to raise the prices, and if they do, then the federal government gets mad, and then the federal government's like, well, we'll just pass a law that says that like you can't charge over X or Y for the drugs, and then it's just like that's just the end of the story, and then they can't do anything about it.
Well, if that happens, then R&D gets cut. Like that's the only solution, and then the U.S. loses. I mean that's bad for everybody.
I mean, to be frank, no matter what, it's bad, because we have the public-private hybrid way we do things in healthcare is stupid. So we're always going to get screwed, no matter what. If you raise the prices, you're screwed. If you don't raise the prices, you're screwed. It's like no matter what you do, you're just screwed. It's stupid.
So we're off on a tangent, but I think that's fine. I have a question I want to ask you though. Who do you think should be funding the world's research and development for drugs?
Well, certainly not the United States.
Well,
I think everybody. I mean, I don't think it should be anybody's responsibility. I think the United States, because of its unique position right now as economic hegemony, we should be doing all we can to ensure that Americans have the best possible healthcare they can, and that any sort of side effect in terms of like research and development, it shouldn't even be a concern. Like we spend the money, we pay for the research because we want to make sure Americans have the best healthcare in the world. And then if we want to license that research to other companies or like sell those products to other companies, fine. But the healthcare costs here in the United States should be like dirt cheap. There's absolutely no reason. Like even if you take into account like all the research and development costs, it just doesn't matter. It should just be cheap here in the United States.
Well, here's the thing: who pays for it? Who pays for that?
Well, that's the problem. It's like, well, if you have these drug companies, like their entire goal is to make a profit. So even if they're not making that much money, which they are, they're raking in billions. That you can't just like you can't have. It's inherently contradictory. You can't have private companies doing this public service like this. It just doesn't work. I mean, we see that it doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, they're doing R&D, and they can do a certain amount of R&D with a certain amount of money, right?
Sure.
If you cause them to reduce the prices of drugs that they sell, they by definition have to do less R&D because they have less capital to do R&D with, and they basically
but then you're also like you're getting rid of the entire insurance industry too, right? So like now you don't have those costs. And then instead of like, a hospital saying, oh, well, we're going to charge you $30,000 for this pill. So then we negotiate with the insurer to drop the price down to X, Y, and Z. Like all this like inefficiency and all this nonsense, it evaporates. It saves billions per year.
Well, that nonsense doesn't live on like that. That is not a line item for the pharma companies. So,
but it's a line item for the healthcare industry.
Right. But what
I'm saying the pharmaceutical companies, get rid of them. They should be taken over by the government. All of them. Every one of them. No profits. Like they should all just be. They're owned by the government now, and then that's the end of that. That's what I think.
Do you think we're going to see more or less innovation if we had government owned? If we had government owned pharmaceuticals, do you think we'd see more or less innovation?
I'd say I think we see more, and I think it's the rare industry where we would actually see more. And I don't think we would see more under the current administration because it seems that like the Republicans are hell bent on like cutting research funding. They're cutting science, like National Science Foundation. They're like cutting funding for that and like all this stuff, but. If and this isn't like a Republican Democrat thing, it's just a fact of life. But if the Democrats were in charge, they're typically more pro funding science research. So I think we would actually see more innovation because instead of focusing on the drugs that deliver the most profit, they can focus on reducing the cost of drugs, and they can focus on research that will have the most impact for the most Americans.
Well, so you can reduce the cost substantially by, I guess, nationalizing drug production. The problem is I don't think you're going to see the same level of innovation because part of that innovation comes from a need to make profit.
Right, but what I'm saying is that that innovation isn't targeted in the right way.
We already have nationally provided economic incentives for drug innovation, right? Like there are universities that do the same type of research, but they're not able to dedicate anywhere near the amount of resources that pharma can.
Right, but that's because the pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars.
And I mean, they simply have more resources.
But if you just make them public, then what resources do they lose? Billions of dollars in profit? Well, guess what that goes back into? It goes back into the healthcare system. And even if we had to like raise taxes, like fine, like just raise taxes.
So do you think they're going to pay their employees the same? After
I don't know. I don't think they probably don't pay their employees that well right now anyway. I mean, how much are they paying medical researchers?
Probably.
I mean,
probably more than the government would.
So here's my question: why is it that any other? And I know what you're going to say, and I disagree with what you're going to say before you even say it. But there's absolutely no reason that like Germany, for example, can do more with less. Like why is it that they have better healthcare results, better outcomes, as a whole? And their entire healthcare industry is cheaper. Like it's run more efficiently.
What do you mean?
Why is their healthcare system better than ours?
I mean, I think it depends on the level you look at it, right?
No, because people have been saying like this argument that like, well, if you can afford it, like the U.S. healthcare is the best, and I don't think that that's even a good argument. Nobody ever has any really good statistics to say that, and even if they do, I'm looking at the entire country. I don't care about middle class people or like which isn't even much of a group of people anymore, or people who make 400 or 500K or have like these luxury healthcare like Cadillac healthcare plans. I don't care about them. I care about Joe Blow on the street who's working at McDonald's making $30,000 a year, and then oops, like I got this random disease or like I got this cancer, and then the drugs are like $2 million. It's like $2 million worth of healthcare. And then they just go bankrupt, and it's just paid for by the taxpayers anyway. Like, why hide and obscure all that stuff, and why don't we just say we're going to provide healthcare for everybody, and then we're also going to invest a lot in research and make sure that research is licensed to other countries so that we make money and bring that money back into our healthcare system.
I mean, it's worth noting though that countries like Germany,
right?
They never nationalized their pharma companies, right?
Sure.
Basically, the way,
they do have nationalized healthcare.
But what I'm saying is basically the way because I'm talking pharmaceuticals specifically. Basically, the entire world's pharmaceuticals. The reason everyone else has such cheap drugs is because the U.S. pharmaceutical companies create drugs because they're financially incentivized, and then they patent them, and then countries like China like China and India who don't care about our patent laws,
right?
Will just straight up create clones of the drugs, and then the entire rest of the world can buy those, and they buy them for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, but U.S. companies are still raking in billions of dollars. So,
and it's all from the American people. That's a huge part,
right? And I'm just saying, like, instead of lining the pockets of some executive who I don't care about, like, that should just be paying for healthcare for Americans. And then, not to mention getting rid of the entire boondoggle that's the healthcare industry, or the insurance industry. Sorry.
Well, the thing is, if nothing else, your taxes are going to go up, right? Assuming we keep the same level of innovation somehow, assuming we don't end up paying people less when it's nationalized, which always happens. Assuming everything else stays the same, people's taxes have to go up.
Without any research, I don't know if I agree with that. But
you're subsidizing one of the largest industries in the world. Or, not subsidizing. You're flat out paying for it with taxpayer dollars now, right? If the money isn't coming from drug costs, then it's coming from taxes. Like, that money has to come from somewhere. If we're keeping up quality or increasing it, as you think will happen, that money has to come from taxes.
Right. So instead of like that company getting that, we're still paying for it anyway. So the difference is, instead of paying for it and then paying a premium to have those drug companies make billions of dollars, we just don't pay that, and then we save that money.
I don't think their margin. Well, first of all, I don't think their margins are that large. But even if that were the case, let's say their margins are like 12%, which I think is high, on average for the industry. I still think like the tax hit is going to be rather large for us, right? Because we're still subsidizing the world, whether you like it or not. That's still happening, unless the U.S.
Well, I really don't even care if like some Indian company or whatever, like they just like rip off our drugs. Like the U.S. pharmaceutical industry, or let's say it's nationalized, like they should do their best job to like make like license out those drugs, but you're not going to like stop people from like copying that stuff. So like, who cares? Like the whole point, I don't care about the rest of the world. I care about doing the best job and as efficient of a job and as great of a job as you can to afford to make healthcare affordable and the best in the world for the people who live here in the United States. And then if some other like country like steals some drugs and like they use it, I just don't even care about that. Like, we can afford it. That's the thing.
So the thing is, you keep bringing up that, you brought up that like another country is more affordable, and you keep saying other countries are more affordable.
Right.
But one thing you're missing is that we are literally subsidizing the world's drugs.
Yeah, I don't care, but we're also subsidizing the profits of the pharmaceutical industries, which have like 20% profit margins
on average.
Yeah.
If that's true, then why wouldn't you just invest in all pharma?
What do you mean?
Why wouldn't you just invest in all pharma versus like, I don't know, an index fund?
It's just like any other industry. Like, they have highs and lows. That's what the current profit margins are.
Oh, currently. Well,
I don't know. I can look up what it is of all time, but I'm looking like, what has it been since like 2012, and it's like 20%.
Well, I mean, that's not that crazy. I think YTD since 2012.
But it's still, I mean, it's 20%. So like, let's just give that 20% back to Americans.
I mean, we're still going to end up paying or we're going to end up paying more taxes.
I don't care if we're paying more taxes if we're getting good care and like we're having better research.
But
like you're paying for what you get.
The problem is you can't compare to other countries then, because you're comparing to other countries who were giving free money.
Well, but I mean, what you're implying is that like Germany has absolutely no research. Like they're just like copying like U.S. drugs, and that's not the case
compared to us. Okay,
no.
let's look at the trade.
No, there's
U.S. to Germany versus Germany to U.S. We are subsidizing them way more than
I don't think you have any evidence for that. And on top of that, like what about like Switzerland? Like they have giant drug companies. Why do they have great healthcare and it's not bankrupting their country?
I mean, do you think anyone comes close to the size of the U.S. pharmaceutical market?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
I mean, if you look at something like the EU, or if you take a few different countries,
but
you have to do it population to population. You can't just say, well, the U.S. has $1 trillion, I don't know, whatever it is, pharmaceutical industry, and then compare it to like one country with like a tenth of the size, like tenth of the population.
So what's Germany's population? We can look it up.
Like 100 billion, probably.
So do you think they have a third the size of the drug market that we do?
I don't know, but I can tell you that they have better healthcare than we do. So we're definitely doing something wrong.
Subsidizing them, maybe?
Well, then let's stop doing research and then just give people better healthcare. Like, no matter what we're doing right now is retarded. So that's at the end of the story. At the end of the day, it being private doesn't work, and it being public/private doesn't work. So, what's left to try? And I can see. I look at the every other country that has nationalized healthcare. Even Cuba has it. I mean, I don't know how great it is, but at least they have it. Every other country has it, and it works. And then there's us just being stupid. That's the problem I have with it is like there's all this resistance, and then I like look over and like there's just like these green pastures of like Germany, and it's like filled with like beer and like beautiful women, and they all have like great healthcare. And then there's like us, and it's like just this decrepit bullshit. That's the problem I have. It's like everything I look at, it's like everybody's doing it better. Even if we were subsidizing them, like it's that's not enough to overcome like the differences. I don't think. But
I mean, I do think it's part of it though, and like if we're talking about,
sure, it could be part of it, but it's not the whole thing. Like you can't tell me the whole story. The reason that Germany and Switzerland and like all these other countries have better healthcare is because there's no way it's even 50%. It's maybe like 20%. You could say that. I'd like admit that as like a
right, but like let's look at like the pharmaceutical cost in particular.
Well, I want to look at the healthcare costs. I don't care. I want the whole system.
But we started out this discussion talking about pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, but then we evolved into talking about all of healthcare.
What I'm saying is our pharmaceutical cost will never, ever reach parity with the rest of the world so long as we are...
Okay, I can accept that, but it doesn't mean I don't think that changes anything.
I just don't... Like, if your goal is to reduce healthcare significantly, pharmaceutical cutting pharmaceutical costs isn't enough. It's not sufficient, and I don't even think it's necessary because a big chunk of that pharmaceutical cost, which is only a fraction.
I mean, I'm willing to submit it's not the biggest problem. Like in the whole thing, I'm definitely willing to submit it's not the biggest problem. But I do think it's a problem. So.
I think people tend to argue against pharmaceutical companies in general just because they're like a shitty company that makes money off of people's misery.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that. That actually doesn't even bother me because I allow and I accept that these companies have to make. You mean as the current industry is like they have to make money in order to survive. I mean, I'm fine like accepting that as like that's the case. I don't think they're a bunch of evil people. Although they did pour all those opioids into West Virginia and like Appalachia, so I don't know. Maybe they are, but they should have been took to the cleaners over that kind of stuff. But anyway, I think we beat this to death anyway.
Yeah, major tangent.
So, whew.
All right. So next story in community news, because that was definitely a community discussion.
Yeah. Well, real quick, issue 1 passed, which was Marcy's Law. That was the other one. So.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think there was much contention over the first issue.
Yeah.
So there is a new exhibit actually available in the convention center downtown.
Yeah. Can we call it creepiest exhibit in the world?
It is a giant 3D model of any face you want, made with 850,000 LEDs and 29 Raspberry Pis. And what it does is it detects and basically presents a 3D model of someone's face using image recognition.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, Eric?
Well, I don't mind because like if I didn't like it, I just wouldn't go there. But
it's a giant like big face thing that like
it looks super creepy.
It's kind
which
of
is maybe a good thing.
It's kind of like something out of a dystopian movie that you would see. It's like Big Brother.
Yeah.
Or like one of those advertising things.
Yeah.
It's super creepy. You should look at pictures of it. Like our words can't do this thing justice.
Yeah.
It's like
it's really
850,000 LEDs to make this giant like changing human face. Oh, that's the other thing. It like changes. It like takes different people's faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Super
right.
creepy.
And last in community news.
So I don't even know if we have enough time to get into this, but
oh no, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll just I guess I'll kind of touch on this overall. So Columbus has so Trevor, follow along with me here. Stop me if you disagree. Columbus has to compete with other cities for investment, for jobs, etc.
Yes, continue.
Okay. Columbus does not compete with cities like actually compete with cities like say New York City. Like we're not like a competitor to them. Like New York City's competitor would be maybe like an LA or Chicago, right?
Proportionally, no, we're on a different scale,
right? Columbus competes with cities such as Indianapolis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Nashville, Lexington, those kind of cities.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nashville apparently gets it. We talked about public transportation all the time. They are doing a $5.2 billion transit makeover for the city, which will include light rail, actual like commuter rail, bus rapid transport, new transit centers, improved routes, et cetera, et cetera. Columbus should do the same thing. Agree or disagree? Maybe not the exact same thing, but something similar to compete with a city like Nashville.
I can tentatively agree. Here's the thing. I'm not sure what Nashville looks like. And the problem with doing a big transit makeover like this is that your biggest cost is always eminent domaining away people's property, right? And that's why you can't that's why you can't introduce a connection from like New York City to Boston, right? Because the cost would be hundreds of billions of dollars of people's property.
Right.
In Columbus, I don't think you could do this for $5.2 billion.
Yeah. Well, who knows? But let's say it's in the ballpark between 1 and 7. Just, I mean, I know those are wild figures, but like that kind of range. Like, let's just say like maybe they could at least do something for $1 billion. They could do something crazy for 7.
I don't know if I buy that. So Columbus is very, I guess, interestingly shaped. And so if you want a central rail system like say Chicago has, there's no way in hell you're getting there with not with $7 billion. I would put the number at like $20-30 billion because
I think that's a huge overestimate, but I guess we're both not experts on this, and I just complain.
Well, I'm just making the assumption that you have to like buy up a ton of you. I mean,
then what are they doing? Like Nashville, obviously. I mean, it's not like it's like. I mean, it's a pretty big city. I mean, they're doing. Well, if you look at the map, it's like.
Here's the thing: if you have inroads, if you have places, like if you have, let's say, a bunch of abandoned, low property value kind of stuff, right? That no one's using.
Yeah.
So if your city is not thriving or not even super successful, I think it's a lot easier to do. It's harder to find the money to do it, but it's easier to do.
I think Nashville's doing they're doing pretty good. It's not like it's
like if let's say we want to do this in Columbus. I think the smart thing to do is what you do is the city saves up money, saves up a few billion, right? And then you wait until an economic downturn. You wait till businesses start closing. And that might be the better way to go about it, right? Okay. To try and find an optimal path. Right now, frankly, property values are sort of overvalued here in Columbus right now.
Yeah. So the Nashville Metro, this is surprising to me, actually. It's a little bit smaller than Columbus at $1.8 million. But I don't think that's... I mean, that's just a fact. I don't think that makes a difference here.
Yeah, it's like 15% smaller.
But I just wanted to throw that little fact out there. So...
All right. But, I mean, yeah, that's... I guess I just think it'd be significantly more expensive in Columbus, especially right now.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately for me, it's like I think it makes Nashville if they do it and they do it right, let's assume that.
Big
for
assumption.
this, yeah, I mean, sure, but like otherwise it's like no fun to debate it. If they do that right, I think that's one of those things that makes a city like Nashville a more attractive place to put your business than Columbus.
Yeah, that's true. But it's
And I really don't like that. It feels like Columbus doesn't have any plan. Like it's just keep building highways, and that's not going to work. I don't understand like why people don't get that. Like I'm just waving my hands around like why? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, you say it doesn't work, but like LA exists,
Yeah, and they have huge traffic problems all the time.
and yet it's the second largest city in the.
Yeah, but it doesn't make traffic any like less worse.
Well, what I'm
like
saying-
I have no interest. I'm not moving to LA for anything. So
Right, but what I'm saying is, you say it doesn't work, and yet so many people live there. Like it works enough to be number 2.
yeah,
And I don't think Columbus is ever going to beat New York City, so it's not like we're shooting for the number 1 spot.
yeah.
I mean,
All right.
I think part of the thing is we're not landlocked in any direction, so people are just going to keep expanding. And
Yeah.
the easiest way, I mean, maybe not the most effective long term, but the easiest way to keep expanding is to keep dropping roads.
Yeah, which I hate because I don't think that's a good idea. But because I want like more people closer together. Now, I don't want people on top of each other like New York or like God forbid some city in Asia. Like I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating for things more like little German villages or like Upper Arlington type or Bexley, like Old Town East. Like how I want more closer like communities. I don't want like mansion suburbs like everything's zoned away to like hell. I want things mixed use development as it should be, but I'll never get that
All right.
unless I run for governor or mayor.
Well, should we move on to our discussion
Let's
topics?
do it. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so
Yep.
yeah, you can go first.
All right. First up in tech-related news, we have Google Docs glitch locks a lot of people out of their document.
Woohoo! Yay for the cloud.
So this is an article from the New York Times. They call it a glitch and a bug in the article, but I wouldn't use that terminology at all. So basically, what happened is Google's algorithm for detecting things that you wouldn't normally see as being a problem, right?
Sure.
Like if somebody is keeping a list of, I don't know, like I don't even know what you would remove from Google Docs, but like let's say they're recording
Child porn.
in a document.
I mean,
All
you
right.
could have a Word document with like nasty pictures in there.
Okay.
I'm sad that like I thought of something really quickly, but with all these sexual molest,
All right.
cases, I guess.
So anyways, one of the stories they cover pretty thoroughly is there's a journalist who's writing about like animal abuse on certain farms, and that document was closed for whatever reason by Google Docs, and she couldn't access her article she was writing.
Right.
And so I feel like this has been happening more and more, right? People just trust algorithms, and then the algorithms do something really, really stupid. So
Yeah.
I think the lesson here is don't trust anyone else with your data.
Yeah, didn't you have a recent experience with this, which prompted the story?
Yeah, so Dropbox actually decided to like overwrite my my password manager thing with an older version, so I just like lost 30 passwords. It's not like the end of the world, but it's really annoying. Like
Yeah.
you just trust this entity to manage your data, and of course it was encrypted, so I wasn't actually trusting Dropbox with like.
Right, but like plain text.
I
stuff,
wasn't trusting them with the security, but I was trusting them to like manage my files.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just not reliable. I guess if I was paying them money, I could have gotten it back, but I wasn't. So don't trust anybody who's giving you something for free to like manage your
Yeah.
stuff.
Always remember when you're getting a service like that for free, you are the product
In some way or the other.
Yeah. So even if you're and even if like you don't think you are, you should still go in with that assumption that you are.
Like
So-
in Dropbox's case, they're probably making money getting like metrics on the kind of files you have. They're also making. I mean,
They're probably reading the files and pulling. They're definitely doing like text extraction from documents and stuff. There's no way they're not.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the big business prop of Dropbox is like you give people a little amount of space, and then you try to upsell them. That's basically all they do.
Yeah. And it's a fine. I mean, it's not like I don't think they're like a terrible. I mean, it's not like they're Facebook or something. Like they're not like some terrible Orwellian spy company. But keep that stuff in mind when you're choosing those. So like, I guess I don't know, but I pay like $2 a month for 200 gigs on iCloud, which I don't even use. I probably shouldn't even pay for it because I don't use like that much, but I like having the space. So for that, like I don't know, like they could be looking at my data. They probably are, but they're also not like they're not giving me ads, so I don't really know, you know.
Yeah, if you have anything that's even a little bit sensitive though that you don't want that you wouldn't like, so if Facebook asked you for like your this information that you're storing there, and you wouldn't be like willing to give it to a person, you probably should encrypt it though.
Yeah.
And encrypting it's super easy. Just use VeraCrypt.
Yep.
I'm giving like open source software recommendations as well. So next up in discussion news.
Yeah. I think so. This is one that I caught that I think is kind of worth talking about. So there's I wouldn't say a fight, but there's a big discussion. There's a lot of things going on right now with tax reform, like biggest in like 20 years, 30 years, like tax reform, right? So there's an article in the New York Times. The title of the article was "California looks at Republican tax measures and sees payback." So let me set the tone here. So from the perspective of the state of California, some people in California or journalists, whoever, they look at the Republican tax bill in the House and the Senate as payback, as like, hey, like you weren't pro-Trump, so like we're gonna do all these things to like screw over California and like screw over all these deductions that Californians take and all this stuff. So I'm gonna submit that might be true. I have no idea, but let's say, but I think it's kind of irrelevant to I guess what we're gonna discuss here. So that could be true, it might be true, don't know. I don't really care. But one of the things that this bill would do, and so I'll bring this first point up here, and I'm gonna quote the New York Times here. The bills would also put a ceiling on a deduction for mortgage interest used by more than 4 million California taxpayers. So, Trevor, what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, repeat that.
So, the bill, if passed, will put a ceiling, so a maximum amount on the deduction for mortgage interest used by more than 4 million California taxpayers. So, when you own a home, you can like take what the interest you pay, like your mortgage interest, and use that to like lower your taxes. So, like if you make, I don't know, let's just throwing out a number. So if you make $10,000 a year and then you pay $1,000 a year.
Yeah, I got
okay,
you.
Okay,
I was
okay,
just
okay.
So,
but maybe for I don't know if our
you
listeners are savvy on it or
okay.
not. But so if it would basically drop your taxable income down to like $9,000.
Right,
is the goal.
Yep.
So
here's my my thought, and I don't know whether this is just me being very cynical or what, but my first thought becomes, why are the Republicans doing this, right? Because so you want to look at who this impacts the most. It's whoever has the most valuable property.
Yeah.
Like
typically people who vote Republican.
Yeah. So it's really surprising to see this coming from the
No, granted, this also isn't unique to it's not like only this only happens.
No, California and New York just get impacted more because their property is more valuable.
Right.
But it's also going to play big in places like Texas.
Right.
Especially Houston.
Yeah. So my view on this is thank God, because I think it's ridiculous. So the mortgage interest, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's a fact of the matter. It disproportionately affects people who can afford to buy homes. So if you're a renter, you're effectively subsidizing people who buy homes. Like, that's ridiculous. Second, why is there any interest deduction at all? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, so if you have very valuable property because you live in California, where, who doesn't want to live in California? Like, I mean, if you just looked at like the geography, like I'm not including like the state politics or something, like it has the best weather in the U.S. pretty much inarguably. So all the property is worth a lot more money. If you were able to afford a property there, now you're rich because you're buying like a $2 million house or something. So A, you're rich enough to do that, and then B, you're like taking the interest off that loan like as a deduction to like your taxable income credit. Like, what the hell? That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. That property should be really expensive all the time. And part of the and I guess I'll segue into this, and then you can go ahead and say something now. But
I was going to say it's also worth noting for those of you who don't know, taxes in California are crazy. Yeah. Like, you get at the highest bracket, you get taxed at just about 55% if you live in San Francisco in particular.
Yeah.
Because you get hit by state taxes, national taxes, then SF taxes.
Yeah. So the other, I guess, like argument that people in California are using, or like the governor of California and stuff, they're saying that by doing this, you're decreasing the amount of like new homes that could be built or like new affordable housing. Good. Like, you don't need more people in California. You need fewer people. Like areas like that, they're like living in like with some of the best weather in the world, or living in some of the great cities of the world. Those are luxuries. They should be expensive. If you can't afford to like live in California, you should have to like relocate to Oklahoma or something. Like, if you can't afford it and you don't make enough money, I have no interest in people in Ohio subsidizing. And if this is the case, I don't know, I don't know exactly, how everything plays out, but I don't want people in Ohio or like anywhere else subsidizing an interest rate. And I don't want people subsidizing us either. An interest rate on a home that only a few people can even afford homes, and then they get like the best weather in the world. It just is nonsense.
Hey, Eric, I have a controversial opinion on this whole thing. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. I think this might be the most traditionally Democratic bill that this Republican Senate has tried to pass.
Yeah.
And it's seeing more opposition from the Democrats, which is really surprising. Yeah. And I'll run through why I think that is. All right. So effectively, I think corporations are going to be taxed at a little bit of a higher percentage because of all the loophole closing.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a fair statement, because every corporation that isn't like some mom and pop shop was using some type of loophole to cut their production costs at the very least, right down to 15%, because manufacturing is taxed at 15%, right? So if you produce something, you get it taxed at 15. Okay, so that's getting cut out, and that's a big controversial thing, but that's not something you would typically see from the Republicans, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a fair statement. Now, this disproportionately affects a couple of places. It disproportionately affects the places where large moneyed business interests are, right?
Yeah.
Where the ratio of money held by corporations versus money held by persons is high. And those places happen to be California, Texas, New York, Massachusetts.
Right.
And so when people say that California is going to be disproportionately affected, they're absolutely right. But it's because businesses are going to be disproportionately affected.
True. Yeah.
People are now. I think a lot of people who are arguing against this are people who you wouldn't normally see in this type of position. Because what you have to do in order to make this is bad. I mean, this is sort of punishment against California and New York or whatever. Is you have to have a very pro business mindset while also being very sort of pro-California, and I don't think that's a very common opinion.
Right.
I think it's basically limited to like the Silicon Valley libertarian kind of crowd. That said, I think this bill is a good thing. Whether it's
let me give you a stat real quick. So sure. I was talking about so the House bill lowers the mortgage interest deduction. So get this. So it lowers the limit on the mortgage interest deduction, and this is for all homes nationwide, from $1 million in debt to $500,000. So right now, if you can afford $1 million home, so you're loaded. There's just no other way you could possibly afford it.
What are you talking about? That's like a few years of money of working in Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
it's not loaded, man. Are you trying to tell me those people are like the upper class?
Yeah. Okay. So the move, but here's the thing. So that move would affect, and I'm quoting the New York Times here, would affect fewer than 3% of mortgage holders nationally. So that sounds good to me. And then on top of that, there are only 4 metropolitan areas in the United States where more than half of the homes are priced above $500,000. Guess where all 4 of those are? The great state of California. So I get, they have that sentiment, but it's like living in California is a luxury. Wake up, people.
Yeah.
Like I live in Ohio because I can't afford the luxury of living in California. So and if you live in California and like especially if you're rich, like you should be for this stuff, because you want to you don't want more people in California. You want, like, in the United States, we need fewer people for sure. But in areas with like the most population, you need even fewer people. Like, you don't want more people cramming into your city with like basically subsidized housing. It's a nonsense position. So, and then the one thing that I really do kind of heavily disagree with, is they are, so this is definitely very like anti-California, but they're looking at putting a ceiling or putting like a restriction on the amount of like money you could get back from being a victim of earthquake or wildfire, which are pretty much the two big ones. But they're also like ignoring like hurricanes, and like that's another thing to me. Look, sorry if if your house got destroyed by a fire or if your house got destroyed by a hurricane, which this bill apparently is ignoring hurricanes, so it's ignoring, so it's political, Florida, right, Texas, etc. Look, don't live there then, and if you can't get your house insured, don't live there. I don't have any sympathy for that, because it's like, I live in Ohio because, well, I can't afford to go. I mean, it's just like it's just a nonsense thing to do. Like, you have all these people who are living living in floodplains. There are people who've had their homes destroyed multiple times by hurricanes, and then the government just keeps rebuilding it. No, like, those people, they should have to move. Like, even if they like are moving somewhere else, like, that's just too bad. Like, why are we subsidizing people living in areas that are prone to natural disasters? It's like, if you just build a house literally like on top of a volcano and it erupted, and you're like, well, build my house again. It's like, no, idiot, don't build your house there. Like, so I have no sympathy for that, and I think that they should get rid of for like this point forward, all houses.
What happens if it's like a freak of nature, like tornado or something?
Well, see, so here's the thing. Right now, the federal government pays and backs those insurance plans, because insurance companies won't. It's not profitable. It's not like safe enough for them to do. But you can get your house insured versus tornadoes, unless you live in like Tornado Alley. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's federally backed or something like that. But any sort of federal backing of people living in areas that are very prone to natural disasters, I want all of that gone.
I don't think most people pay for like that kind of coverage though. Like homeowners, I don't think most people are paying for like tornado protection, especially in Ohio.
Well, I guess we don't know, but what I can tell you is that the federal government because this is a big thing in Houston, federal government requires you to pay insurance if you're living in a hurricane flood zone, like right, flood prone area. So they require you to pay for insurance, and then that insurance is like subsidized and backed by the federal government.
That makes sense.
Because if the federal government pulled out of that, insurance companies just wouldn't insure the homes.
Right.
Good. Like, that's the way it should be, because those are very dangerous. It doesn't make sense to keep rebuilding houses to get destroyed by natural disasters. Like, either build the houses such that they can't possibly be destroyed by a hurricane, and good luck doing that, or just don't live there. And then, or you can afford it and then like just rebuild your house, I don't know, or make it like a boat or something.
For hurricanes in particular, it's doable. It's just it's actually just very expensive. There's a lot of homes in Japan that are pretty much flat out hurricane proof.
Yeah.
And the same is true of like earthquakes.
Yeah.
Japanese civil engineering, like homes are like the actual building cost of the home, which in the U.S. a lot of times that's not even the most expensive cost.
Yeah.
But it's almost 2.5 times. But the homes can stand up to almost anything.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that like Hiroshima is not terrible as it was, I guess the impact of it is because a lot of the buildings outside of like the 1,000-meter range stood. Like they survived the bomb.
Right.
So you can build houses that will survive. It's just a lot more expensive.
Yeah, and I think they should be expensive because it's just.
Wait,
it's like if I
it's
get
a building material question, Eric. What
yeah,
you gonna rant about building material costs?
Let
me tell you about bricks.
Yeah. So, I love bricks, but it's like if I buy, if I crash my car all the time and like keep totaling my car, I'm gonna lose the insurance. Why do we treat homes any different? Or like, it's just nonsense to me, and especially when it's basically being subsidized by taxpayers. So now, with that said, obviously, like I feel really bad for the people losing their homes, and like I think that sucks. But I think they should have just never been in that position anyway. So.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I will say real quick, last rejoinder.
Yeah.
You did point out that there is one thing in the tax bill which is a very obvious case of lobbying, which is that that they don't include hurricanes. And I mean,
that's clearly
well, yeah. So I mean, I assume what happened is basically some Texas senator or House person or House persons was probably
strongly Republican states, more or less.
Right, was probably like, we're not going to sign the tax bill if you add Yeah. So that's probably what happened,
Yeah.
and it's important.
And that's a fair argument for California to make too.
I think it's important to call out like obvious cases of state special interest happening.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
That's definitely what's happening there. All right. So moving on. Trump thinks Scientology should lose its tax-exempt status. So you brought this up, Eric?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't like any religious institution paying or not paying taxes. I don't think Scientology is any worse or better than any other religion. So
yeah, I mean, I guess my thoughts are you can't cut Scientology's tax-exempt status unless you're going to cut everyone's. Like if you're going to be ideologically consistent about it, you need to cut like Islam, you need to cut Christianity, you need to cut Judaism. And I don't think that's politically viable. So I think this is kind of nonsense. I do think Scientology is shittier on average, like per member than
like on a per capita basis. Scientology is kind of towards the bottom
because they like stalk their critics.
Yeah. There's that whole HBO documentary that was pretty good. The Scientology one, I like that a lot. I don't know if you ever saw it.
No, but I heard about the main person of it.
Yeah,
they did like an Ask Me Anything. But the thing is. And this is serious. Like, if our podcast started getting listened to by other people, and we like in one episode said Scientology is terrible, which I am. Scientology is terrible.
We're saying it right now.
Yeah. So if we become popular, they're going to do reports and have dossiers on us.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, that Eric guy, like he leaves work early sometimes.
It's really creepy.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I could see maybe making a case because of the church's like extracurricular activities. But the idea that they're a cult and other things aren't, and that's why they should lose their status, I think that's nonsense.
I agree.
I don't think though that.
Especially too when people are like they want like separation of church and state, and then like you get a bunch of Republicans that are like, oh, I'm like a big Christian guy, and it's like, no, now you're like, I just. Yeah.
I will say though, you would be surprised at how many churches would survive removing the religious tax exempt status. Because I think the majority of them provide like social services as well, like they feed people or whatever, and so they would still get 501(c) or 501(c) tax exempt status.
Unlike probably Scientology.
Yeah.
So, last story.
All right, last story. The woman who flipped off Trump said she learned her values growing up in Central Ohio, and she's actually from Central Ohio. So for those of you who didn't hear, Trump's motorcade was traveling through, I think, Tennessee. And this woman like knew about it ahead of time somehow, and was just biking along. And as the motorcade passed her, she like flipped them off. And so she reports to her company like this to HR because it's public at this point. She like has it as her Facebook profile picture, which is another mistake. Okay, so first mistake, going to HR. Second mistake, she has this photo of her flipping off the motorcade as her Facebook profile picture.
Yeah,
and so HR consulted the executives and then they fired her.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly not a fan of. I mean, I brought this up like when the Google memo thing came out, right? I'm not a fan of firing people for their political opinions. I think companies should be able to do it, but I don't think it's like. I mean, I think they should receive bad PR in general. Like the American public should judge them for it generally.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the ability to like fire heinous people for saying heinous things, right?
Right.
But I think in general, like the response should come from the public to be like, "Hey, what this person did was not deserving of being fired." Or like, I'm not a fan of taking that right away from companies, but I do think generally they should receive bad PR. Like this company is receiving bad PR.
Yeah, it's just kind of silly. Like, oh, well, they did this. Like, well, first of all, don't post stuff like that on Facebook.
And second of all, don't go to HR for anything that could get you fired. Are you stupid?
Yeah.
HR is not on your side.
Never. They only work for the company.
Yeah. All right. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, pretty much same as yours, I think. I mean, it's lesson learned for her, I guess. Like, just don't do it anyway. Like,
I mean, yeah, it was
just don't flip him off. Like, just don't get involved in it. Then you won't have these. Like, somebody said this, and I love it. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So she played a stupid game, and she won a stupid prize. That's the way it looks to me. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everything aside, it is worth mentioning that it was a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
that was a lot. We had some pretty good discussion in there this time.
No feature topic, but I think our segue into talking about healthcare basically functioned as a feature. So
Yeah, surprise feature in the middle of the episode.
yeah, we'll have to see what the feedback is on that. And by feedback, I mean none, because we never get any emails ever.
Yeah, email us like some cool stuff.
You should email us anything at all. We're basically desperate and begging for information.
Yeah, please do it.
You should also follow us on Twitter.
Yeah,
Columbus This Week.
Oh, we have a Twitter.
Yeah, we do.
I'm surprised we haven't been banned already.
I mean, yeah, we're very controversial, Columbus This Week.
Yeah, so much controversy.
I heard we don't agree with the totality of the Republican tax plan.
Yeah,
and then we kind of agree with it though. So maybe Jack will ban us from Twitter.
Yeah, he's probably got better stuff to do though. Well, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, he's got to talk to stakeholders about why his company is constantly losing money. So
Well, at least they're not Snap.
All right. Well, this has been Columbus This Week. You have anything else to add, Eric?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Hope you have a good week.